So from the very beginning, even before I knew what I was doing with the Noir City Festival or what films I was going to program, there was the poster. The poster is always the thing that drives the festival each year. And from the beginning, I'd say for like the last 12 years, the poster has always been, it's the same team that puts it together. It's me and Bill Selby, who is the art director, and David Allen, the photographer, and we get together and sort of conspire on a concept for the poster, and then I generally tie it into the theme of that year's festival. But it's really the poster that kicks everything off and sort of inspires everything that comes after that.
Creating a poster for Noir City, for me, always begins with the concept. Concept is king.
It's a collaboration. We whittle it down to one, and we bring the three of us together and create the storyboard.
I don't know how much of this is apparent to people when they look at the posters, but all of them have a backstory. And I might even be a little nuttily obsessed about creating the backstory of how we arrive at this moment that's depicted on the poster. The poster is like a tableau, if you will, but I kind of obsess about how you get to that moment that we depict on the poster. And it's something that, that Bill and David and I talk about quite a bit, the backstory.
We try to do something different every year, and it's always challenging, and it's a lot of fun. This year was the pulp theme, and we ended up creating a scenario that Eddie came up with.
Now, as for this year's poster and the fact that we have two returning Ms. Noir Cities, you know, it's simply the fact that, you know, Audra Wolfman and Evie Lavelle were just so great. Audra was from Noir City 11 and Evie from Noir City 12, and I wasn't ready to let go of them yet.
This festival is great. Every night you get to see two movies that either you've never seen on the big screen or that you've never even heard of, which is kind of my favorite nights. I love being educated in the best of all situations, and that's surrounded by film scholars, film lovers. It's special. It's going to church for a lot of us.
And so instead of like, okay, let's go find another Ms. Noir City, I turned it around and said, how do we get them both on the same poster?
I found an image online of a paperback book cover with two women, and I just sent it to Eddie and said, how about something like this where we show two women and she's got this hot affair with this other woman and they've killed the husband, they bumped him off.
And then we came up with a subgenre of 1950s pulp fiction that seemed perfect for two women.
You know, he came up with this whole concept, this whole background story.
I didn't want people to say, oh, it's the same girls again. I wanted them to say, oh, how did they end up on this poster together?
I think I came up with the idea that Eddie would be face down in the soup, like they poisoned the soup or something. And Eddie said, no, wait, it's more photogenic if I'm on the steps, if I've died on the steps.
We do have fun making these posters.
Yeah, we try to obviously shoot within the Bay Area and the immediate San Francisco area.
During the initial scout, Eddie and I and our photographer David Allen went to Eddie's house one afternoon, and just to make sure that the idea was going to work, Eddie and I posed as the two women. You know, we moved a divan up, and Eddie sat down on the divan, and I was one of the femme fatales. She was the other femme fatale, with the staircase in the background, just to see if compositionally this thing was going to work, and it did.
You know, for this year we have two models, which we don't do very often. It's usually just one model. So when you have two or more, there has to be an interaction and a chemistry, and so you need to keep that going.
Eddie decided early on, right from the very first year, that we wanted to emulate the old style posters, but we wanted to, whereas in the old posters, women were usually in a position of jeopardy. In our posters, we wanted to have the woman be strong, the woman be dominant. We wanted to have more of a feminist approach.
Noir as a genre has many defining characteristics, but for me, as a female fan, the most salient one is that post-war fear of female independence. You've got women that are manipulative and murderous, but it's not always just clear-cut misogyny. Sometimes the femme fatales are allowed to be strong and smart and sexy too.
It is very important that we never show a woman being threatened on the poster, because I want to retain the sexiness of the original posters that we're emulating, but I don't want anybody to think that it's sexist in any way.
What I've always liked most about the Noir City posters is how the women are empowered and mysterious and capable and deadly.
So you have to be very cautious of how you are making eye-catching, provocative imagery, but that is still in good taste so that it can be publicly displayed anywhere. And a big part of that is showing these women in what, shall we say, is an empowered way.
You know, it's not just cheesecake. It's like cheesecake with brass knuckles in the middle.
Trust me, I know that they're empowered because I'm the guy who is usually getting his ass kicked in these posters.
The theme of having Eddie in it just started as a whim, and it was totally spontaneous.
I think the first poster I appeared on was number 3, and it was kind of a spontaneous thing. Our model was Shiva Sharifi was the model, very good photographer herself.
He's like dead at the feet of Shiva, who's emulating Rita Hayworth.
If memory serves, I think I just wanted to lie on the floor and like hold Shiva's calf. I think that was what got me in the poster. So let's take a couple of shots where I'm like the dead guy on the floor. And and since then it's kind of become a trademark or something, you know, my Hitchcock cameo.
No, I'm not dead in all of them.
Okay.
You know, 10 I was definitely alive.
You want to stand back there?
8 I was dead.
You should stand back.
7 I was about to be killed, I think.
Eddie's face.
Let's see, 9 I was dead. Totally dead.
Yeah, Eddie's been dead a lot.
But in the new one, I am dead. I am dead, fully dead. Really, I really had to act in this one.
We decided early on that we were going to shoot separately. We'd shoot Eddie dead on the steps first. We didn't want to have Eddie upside down too long on the steps because all the blood rushes to his head.
I'm glad you guys are enjoying this.
But we wanted him to be alert and alive.
It's incredible, really, how hard we all work, but especially the models, you know, in this case, Audra and Evie, because that trying to get that one perfect pose is really, really difficult and very time-consuming, and you're asking these women to like contort themselves into very unnatural positions that look great when the shutter snaps, but can be very painful to arrive at. You know, I had it easy. I just laid on the stairs, and you know, I'm so out of shape that it was like, this is painful, make it stop. But it was nothing compared to what we put them through.
Low-key lighting is definitely the way to go, and part of that controlling the light is the honeycomb grids, which is what they use quite a bit in the 40s. It's also important to be, you know, have something come out of left field once in a while, be spontaneous. Keep that in mind as much as possible.
You think you can see the perfect final image in your mind, in your mind's eye, but yet something like just that simple box of rat poison, it became like problematic. Like, how do we have it? How do we position the thing so that it looks organic? You know, so that it looks like a part of the poster, so that it's not like, hey, we're trying to sell rat poison here. And we just had a hell of a time trying to position that thing. You know, I'd walk up and reposition it. It was Audra that was like holding the thing, and then Eddie would walk up and reposition it and move her hand, you know, and we just couldn't get it right. It took a long time till we finally got lightning in a bottle, and it finally worked.
Actually, I think next year there's just going to be a big picture of rat poison. That's going to be the poster. And I'll be out of a job, but hey, rat poison.
One of the secrets to the success we have doing this is that the group responsible for it is so small. It's such a concerted effort. It's like a little commando unit, and once you're in, you are in for the duration. As Evie and Audra have obviously found out, because you know, you may think you're out, but we will pull you back in.
Once the photo shoot's over, we can all go home and crash. You know, then my job begins.
When you look at the finished poster, it probably looks like it's pretty simple. It was like one shot.
David Allen posts, you know, a few hundred digital photos online. I download these photos. Eddie also does. Eddie and I are in communication about which photos we're going to use, which poses we like, and we narrow it down to just a handful. And in this case, I think there were maybe about 9 photos. You know, I begin to drill down, isolate the figures from the background, grab a head from this one that's going to work, a body from this one that's going to work, trying to make, you know, everything look as idealized as possible.
We want to maintain a certain style, but we want to keep coming up with new ideas. And so it's great because every year we say, oh, this is going to be the best one yet. This one is going to be the best one yet. And in generally it is. Because if we don't feel that when we walk away from the photo shoot, you know, then we haven't done our job. But I do think that this year's is the best one yet. This
year, Eddie says it's the best poster ever. He said that 2 years ago when I was on the poster. I think every year's the best year, and he's right.
It's a wonderful collaboration, probably the best collaboration I've ever been involved with in my life. And I love, most of all, being finished with the poster and then being able to walk into the festival and my job is done. And I can sit back and watch movies. And Eddie's job is still continuing. I mean, he's like hosting and he's still working, but for me, I'm done.
It's really a lot of fun to make these posters because we are sort of cherry picking from this great cultural smorgasbord, you know, mostly American culture, and all of these various elements, not just the movie stuff, but, you know, crime fiction and pulp magazines and old record albums and lesbian pulp novels of the 1950s. There's all this wonderful stuff to draw from, and so since the festival itself is dedicated to preserving film noir in particular, we also feel in making these posters that we're sort of preserving a look and a style for the promotional art that's also of that period, that also is definitely worth saving. And we're proud of the job that we do.